Welcome to the Mid Week Tease with me, Adelle Onyango, where I share some random and not too random thoughts on things. And in this episode, I want to talk about what healing will cost you. And I don't mean things that are maybe part of self-care that get rounded off to healing. I'm talking about the kind of healing that changes your life. When I look at it in my own personal life, I would be talking about the year that every week, every Thursday, I was in therapy. That included homework. Yeah, that deep inner work. That's what I'm talking about. The kind of healing that changes your life. It will take some things from you. I feel like if no one tells you about this part, you're going to start thinking that something is wrong when actually you are right on track. So I want to walk through 8 things that I think healing will cost you. And the first one is people. And whenever we think about this, we think about losing people through like huge, dramatic, loud fights, dramatic endings. And don't get me wrong, those could be there because in my experience, those have been there. Those have been there. But there's also the loss of people in a more quiet way. You just stop showing up the way you used to. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop saying yes when you mean no. You stop shrinking to keep the peace. And once you do that, suddenly the relationship, be it a friendship or whatever, doesn't feel the same anymore. Because some of these relationships were built around you abandoning yourself. So when you stop doing that, the relationship crumbles. So if you're used to people pleasing so that you can feel loved, and then you're walking through doing this deep inner healing work and you stop doing that, it disrupts the dynamic. Not everyone is going to recognize that as growth because not everyone is going to grow at the same pace with you, is going to grow at all. And sometimes they won't grow with you. So imagine if you used to be the friend who's available at any hour. You drop everything just to be there. And then now you finally find the voice to say, I can't today, I need to rest. What could be projected back is that suddenly you're so different. You're not different. You're just no longer abandoning yourself. And that's gonna mean that you lose some people, and not necessarily in like huge dramatic arguments. The relationship just doesn't survive because you're not abandoning yourself anymore. Healing will also cost you your sense of constant connection. This one I really felt, because when you stop engaging in old patterns, there's a lot of space. So I'll give an example. I was in a relationship with someone who was emotionally dysregulated, and they didn't know how to regulate their emotions. The result of that is I was constantly anxious, right? Constantly anxious because silence was weaponized. So you're texting and somebody's silent and you're waiting for replies. All of that anxiety is filling up the space, right? But when you stop engaging in those patterns, when you just realize, for me, I realize this dynamic is really not serving the woman I am and that I am trying to be. So you do away with that. And what's left is space. And it's space where you're not chasing, you're not overgiving, and you're not entertaining situations that drain you. And a lot of us mistake that space for loneliness. And there is a bit of cognitive dissonance here, right? Because your brain is used to chaos and intensity and even inconsistency. So when things get calm, it feels unfamiliar. It might mistakenly get rounded off to loneliness. It might even feel boring. And because you're not used to peace, it doesn't feel peaceful. It feels empty. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means your nervous system is adjusting. Okay, so when you encounter this space, it doesn't mean, let me go back to the old dynamic. No, wait it out. The discomfort washes away, trust me. And then you start to recognize peace and it starts to be peaceful. Do not get overwhelmed or intimidated by the space. This is just part of the process. The other thing, I think this is the third thing, right? That healing will cost you is the version of the story where it was just them with an issue, because now you have to look at yourself too. And this is so interesting because like yesterday, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday I was on the phone with my best friend and we were talking about a date I had gone on that was really good. And because of talking about that date, we started talking about, my last two previous relationships. And I said, oh, one of them was a diagnosed narcissist. I was present for the diagnosis. The other, I'm just like, there are also some questionable behaviors, right? And I tell my best friend, I say, I recognize the patterns I have and the personality I have makes me more susceptible to this type of unhealthy relationship. And so what I need to do is to figure out how to recognize it faster. I've cut the patterns, but the parts of my personality that make me more susceptible are parts that I like. So I'm not going to change that, but I need to get better in identifying an unhealthy relationship because I think I stayed too long. And that's a clarity that healing gives you. You move away from them. And trust me, it's not to take away accountability. No, but it's important to have self-reflection and not in a blaming way. Trust me, I do not shame myself at all, but in an honest way. You start to unpack, why did I accept that? Or why did I ignore this red flag? And there's real growth that happens there, especially when you don't do it from a shameful way. Because a huge part of healing I've found is about accountability without the self-blame. So trying to understand decisions you made is so important because then it liberates you to choose differently. Does that make sense? I hope it does. The other thing that healing will cost you is who you used to be. It's going to cost you the hyper-independent version of you, the I don't need nobody version, the version of you who needed to overachieve so that you can feel worthy. Those versions protected you. So I don't think you should shame yourself for that. They protected you. They were born out of a need to protect you from specific things in your environment. But healing will make you acknowledge that they can't lead you anymore. There's something called identity reconstruction. Sometimes psychologists talk about this, where you're not just adding new habits, you're actually becoming a different person. And sometimes that comes with grief, So maybe you used to pride yourself on never needing help. This was me. Now you're learning to ask for support. And it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it even feels embarrassing. But that discomfort, that's growth. And let me tell you, there are people around you who are ready to help, who are ready to love you in a very healthy manner. That has been my experience. And when I lean in, I might at first feel uncomfortable, or I don't feel embarrassed anymore. I just feel maybe a bit of discomfort. But oh my God, afterwards, I feel so seen and so held. It's so, it pours into me. So coming from somebody who used to find it so hard to ask for help and was so hyper independent, this other side is not too shabby. It feels warm. The other thing healing will cost you or will do is it'll make you less convenient. And not everyone is gonna like that, because some people truly benefit from your lack of boundaries. So when you just start saying no, when you stop overextending, when you start choosing yourself, there are gonna be people who are disappointed with you, right? So for example, now you don't attend every event anymore. You don't pick every call. You don't agree just to keep the peace. You speak your mind. And people might say, you've become distant or you've changed. My God, the number of times I've heard I have changed. And I'm like, hell yeah. And thank God I have, because that other babe was moving in a very unsustainable way. So I'm glad I've changed, right? That is the point. So do not take those things like when you're being called distant or that you've changed to heart, okay? It just means healing is making you less convenient, and not everybody's going to like that. Healing will also cost you certainty. Let me tell you, at a point of doing my deep inner work, I just started to see things so clearly. And when that happens, you can't unsee it. There's no going back to ignorance. You can't unsee it, right? You started questioning your relationships and friendships around you. You start questioning your career, your beliefs. It's like, why do I truly believe that? Is it my belief or was I coached? You start seeing things clearly and you can't unsee. And that sometimes feel like everything is falling apart. But what's actually happening is that your mind is making space, right? So it's like clearing, making space for something that's more aligned. So for example, maybe you're in a job that looks good on paper, but suddenly it just doesn't feel right anymore. And you're just like, I used to dream of having a job like this. What's happening? But as I've said earlier, with healing, past versions of you are shedding. The relationships around you that do not serve this new, healthier version of you are shedding. So much is shedding and changing and evolving. Even the things that you once liked, there's going to be a shift in them. Acknowledge that shift internally has happened, right? And it's going to cause you to choose differently or to meet external things differently. Number 7. Healing will cost you the life you thought you would have. Yeah. This one, I think this is a phase I'm in. And on a more nuanced level, when you add the fact that I am a woman, I am an African woman. I think from when we are younger, we are socialized to desire the same type of life, right? So you're socialized to want to get to a certain point in your 20s and get married. You're socialized to want to have kids. You're socialized to there's this one path that we're socialized to aspire to. And we're told, well, this is what we all want. First, I'm so happy that I've done the marriage and divorce thing all before I'm 40. I have zero pressure. Let me tell you, I am enjoying dates like I've never enjoyed them before because there's no pressure. I'm not concerned with what are we. I'm here for a good time. But what it has forced me to do, and I feel like I've had to do this very consistently, it has forced me to let go of the life that I thought I would have because of what I was socialized to believe I want. It's forced me to do the work of figuring out, wait, what do I want? And I recently, if we look at love, I recently was telling a friend of mine that it took me a while and then I realized that I didn't even know what my type was. And so then now I'm like conjuring up what's my type. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely not my type. That I could rock with, And away from love, I'm reconstructing and redefining what my womanhood looks like and what my life as an African woman looks like. And it's fun and scary at the same time because I know I don't want kids. I know I don't want a traditional relationship. So what does that look like? Now you have to redefine that, right? So the healing work I've done, and it's exciting, don't get me wrong, it's very exciting and wonderful. Sometimes it is scary because there are not too many examples around me. So it's almost like you're designing something that doesn't fully exist. The inner healing work liberated me to understand that, the life I thought I would have first wasn't really my life. It was one that was prescribed for women. And I don't want it anymore. But you have to grieve the life you thought you would have. And the grief is tricky, hey? Because you can miss something and still know it wasn't right for you. Those two things can happen. And you'll still have to grieve it. Have you ever had a relationship with someone that was toxic or unhealthy? It wasn't for you? And you guys break up and it's the right thing and you even feel the light and the air that comes with their absence? but you still miss them, but you don't want them back. Yeah, like those two things can be true at the same time. And so I feel like healing is going to cost you the life you thought you would have, and you're going to have to grieve it as you lean into the excitement and sometimes fear around designing the life that you want. Make sense? And lastly, healing is going to cost you comfort. Hey? Because, okay, when it comes to choosing yourself, this isn't like a one-time decision. It's daily, from small things to big things, right? And it's saying no when it's easier to say yes, but like you have to say no. It's walking away when it's easier to stay. It's resting when you feel guilty for doing it. It's these small decisions where you choose yourself over and over and over and over again. And your brain will resist it sometimes because your brain is wired for familiarity, not growth. And for decades, you've been doing things in a way where you were abandoning yourself, right? So it's going to take you some time to rewire your brain. But every time you choose yourself, you are reinforcing a new pattern. So think about it like that. Every time you choose yourself, no matter how difficult it is, you are depositing into the bank of like rewiring your brain. So healing will cost you, right? Be it people, patterns, comfort, certainty. But let me tell you, what it gives you is worth the cost and more. It's going to give you peace. It's going to give you clarity. It's going to give you alignment. Life feels so good when you are aligned. It's going to give you self-respect. Do you know how good it feels to know, hey, I'm not going to allow ABCD around me? Like you're standing up for yourself. And you're going to get a life that actually feels like yours. Like you're an active participant. You have thoughts, opinions, right? You have a say because the life is yours. So if you're on this inner healing work journey and things feel like they're falling apart right now, maybe it's relationships or friendships that feel different. Maybe you're feeling a little lonely or unsure. You're not doing life wrong. You're just no longer available for what no longer aligns. And that is the beginning of everything. So keep going. I really hope you connected with this episode. And if you did, please share it with someone that you love. Thanks for listening to the Mid Week Tease, a Legally Clueless Africa production. Episodes go out every Wednesday, and you can learn more about us by going to legallycluelessafrica.com.